My dear brothers and sisters, stop worrying, because if you truly understood who is in control, your heart would already be at rest. You are not fighting a losing battle. You are not forgotten. You are not behind. The one who controls the heavens and the earth is watching over you, and nothing, absolutely nothing, reaches your life except by his permission. The delays you are facing, the closed doors you don't understand, the tears you shed in silence, none of them are wasted. They are all counted, recorded, and known by Allah. When something was not meant for you, it could never stay. And when something is written for you, no force on earth can take it away. So calm your heart. What is yours is on its way, even if the road feels long. Many people worry not because their situation is hopeless, but because they momentarily forget who their Lord is. Worry grows when reliance weakens. The moment you start carrying burdens Allah never asked you to carry, your chest feels heavy. Allah never told you to figure everything out. He told you to trust Him. He never asked you to control outcomes. He asked you to make effort and place your reliance in Him. When you remember that Allah is al-Wakil, the one who perfectly manages all affairs, you begin to breathe differently. You realize that what kept you awake at night was already being handled by the one who never sleeps. Do not think your hardship means Allah has turned away from you. On the contrary, sometimes the strongest souls are tested the most. Allah tests those He wants to elevate, not humiliate. If He is making you wait, it is because something within you is being prepared. If He is making you struggle, it is because something greater is coming. Gold is not purified without fire, and faith is not strengthened without trials. Every tear you cried brought you closer to Him. Every moment of patience raised your rank, even when no one else noticed. There are moments when you beg Allah for something and it doesn't happen. You feel disappointed. You feel confused. But what if that no was actually protection? What if Allah saved you from pain you couldn't handle, from a path that would have broken you, from a blessing that would have pulled you away from Him? Allah does not withhold out of cruelty. He withholds out of mercy. If He removes something from your life, it is only to replace it with something better, whether in this world or the next. Never think your dua has been ignored. Every supplication you made was heard. Sometimes Allah gives you exactly what you asked for. Sometimes He delays it until the right time. And sometimes He replaces it with something far greater than what you imagined. A delay is not a denial. Silence is not rejection. Allah's timing is perfect, even when it hurts, even when you don't understand it. And remember this, true victory is not wealth, status, or applause from people. True victory is having a heart that still turns to Allah despite being tired. True victory is staying obedient in a world full of temptation. True victory is being patient when it's hard, grateful when it's easy, and hopeful when it feels impossible. If Allah is pleased with you, you have already won, no matter what your situation looks like. So stop worrying. You are not losing, you are growing. You are being guided, you are being protected. Keep walking, keep trusting, keep making dua. The help of Allah comes at the exact moment it is needed. And when it comes, you will look back at this phase and realize you didn't lose. You were being prepared to win. What is meant for you can never miss you, no matter how far it seems or how long it takes. Many people spend their lives anxious about losing opportunities, losing people, or losing what they believe was their chance, without realizing that Allah's decree does not make mistakes. Long before you were born, long before you made the dua, long before you even understood what you wanted, Allah had already written your portion, the risk that will reach you, the relationships that will stay, the doors that will open for you. All of it was decided with wisdom and mercy. If something slipped away from your hands, it was never yours to begin with. And if something is written for you, it will find you even if the entire world stands in its way. Sometimes we blame ourselves excessively, replaying moments in our minds and saying, if only I had done this, or if only I had chosen differently. While self-reflection is healthy, self-torture is not. Allah does not want you to live trapped in regret. He wants you to learn, to grow, and to move forward with trust. Even the mistakes you made were within the knowledge of Allah, and He is powerful enough to turn your errors into lessons and your losses into gains. Nothing escapes His plan. When you truly believe this, your heart becomes lighter because you stop fighting what has already been decreed and start focusing on what Allah wants from you now. There are moments when you see others receiving what you prayed for and shaitan whispers into your heart that you were forgotten. But Allah is never unjust. He does not give one person at the expense of another. what He gives someone else was never written for you, and what is written for you cannot be taken by anyone else. Comparison steals peace, because it makes you measure Allah's wisdom through your limited understanding. The reality is Allah distributes according to what each soul can handle, not according to what each eye desires. What looks like a blessing in someone else's life might be a test you were spared from. Delays are often the hardest part of believing in divine decree. You make dua, you try, you wait, and nothing seems to change. But what you cannot see is what Allah is aligning behind the scenes. Sometimes the delay is because you are not yet ready. Sometimes it is because the situation around you is not ready. And sometimes it is because Allah wants to give you something in a way that leaves no doubt that it came from Him alone. If Allah rushed everything you asked for, you would miss the depth of reliance, patience, and closeness that waiting creates in the heart. Trusting that what is meant for you will reach you does not mean sitting back without effort. Islam teaches us to strive, to work, and to tie our camel while placing our hearts in Allah's hands. You take the steps you can and you leave the outcome to Him. When you do this, failure no longer breaks you, because you understand that effort is your responsibility, but results belong to Allah. Every sincere step you take is rewarded, even if it does not produce the outcome you hoped for. One of the greatest freedoms in life is knowing that you cannot lose what Allah has written for you. This belief frees you from chasing people who are not meant to stay, from forcing doors that were never meant to open, and from panicking over timelines that do not match others. When Allah wants something to reach you, it will come gently, at the right moment, in the right way, with blessings in it. And when it finally arrives, you will realize that the wait, the confusion, and the patience were all part of a perfect plan. Your worry is often not a reflection of how big your problem is, but a reflection of how small your trust has become in that moment. When the heart forgets who is truly in control, even minor issues feel overwhelming. You begin to carry fears about tomorrow, replay conversations from yesterday, and imagine outcomes that may never happen. Yet Allah never asked you to live in fear of the unseen. He asked you to believe in Him, to rely upon Him, and to remember that nothing unfolds outside His knowledge and power. The moment you remember this, worry begins to loosen its grip, because you realize you are not alone in managing your life. Many people worry because they believe everything depends on them, their decisions, their strength, their intelligence, their timing. This belief quietly exhausts the soul. Allah created you limited on purpose so that you would turn back to Him. He never intended for you to control every detail. Your responsibility is effort, sincerity, and obedience. The outcome belongs to Allah alone. When you take on the role of controller instead of servant, your heart becomes heavy. But when you return to your true position as a servant who trusts his Lord, peace begins to settle, even if the situation remains unchanged. Worry often disguises itself as responsibility. You tell yourself you are being cautious, prepared, or realistic. But deep down your heart is restless because it fears losing control. True reliance does not mean ignoring problems or pretending everything is fine. It means acknowledging the difficulty while believing that Allah's help is greater than the hardship. It means understanding that no harm can reach you unless Allah allows it. And no relief can be delayed unless Allah sees wisdom in the delay. This awareness does not erase challenges, but it gives you strength to face them without breaking. There are moments when your dua feels heavy on your tongue because your heart is filled with anxiety instead of certainty. Yet Allah listens even to the trembling voice, even to the broken plea, even to the supplication mixed with fear. Worry does not disqualify you from Allah's mercy. However, remaining stuck in worry without reminding yourself of Allah's attributes weakens your connection to Him. When you remember that He is Al-Rahman, Al-Hakim, Al-Qadir, and Al-Wakil, your fear slowly transforms into surrender. You stop asking, what if everything goes wrong? And begin to say, even if it does, Allah will carry me through. Look at how many times Allah has already taken care of you without you even realizing it. There were dangers you never saw, losses you were protected from, and problems that dissolved before reaching you. If Allah managed your life when you were unaware, do you really think He will abandon you now that you are turning to Him? Worry often erases memory. It makes you forget past blessings and present protection. Reminding yourself of Allah's preview. Help strengthens your trust in His future plan. Letting go of worry is not a one-time decision. It is a daily act of remembrance. Every time fear returns, you gently bring your heart back to Allah. You repeat to yourself that He is in control, not you. You make dua. You take the means available and then you release the outcome. This release is not weakness, it is strength. It is the strength of a believer who knows that as long as Allah is managing their affairs, there is no reason for the heart to remain imprisoned by fear. Many people assume that when life becomes difficult, it is a sign that Allah has turned away from them. They quietly wonder what they did wrong or why they are being punished. But hardship is not abandonment, and pain is not proof of rejection. In fact, some of the most beloved servants of Allah were tested in ways that would break the strongest hearts. If trials were a sign of Allah's absence, then the best of humanity would have been the most distant from Him. The reality is that Allah tests those He loves, not to destroy them, but to refine them, to bring them closer, and to prepare them for something greater. Every test carries a message, even if you cannot immediately read it. Sometimes the test is meant to awaken you, to pull you back when the world distracted you from your purpose. Sometimes it is meant to cleanse you from sins that you did not even realize were weighing you down. And sometimes it is meant to raise your rank in a way that comfort never could. Ease rarely teaches reliance, but hardship forces the heart to turn sincerely to Allah. In those moments of weakness, when everything else falls away, your relationship with Allah becomes clearer and more honest. When Allah tests you, He is not asking you to be perfect. He is asking you to be patient, to remain connected, and to keep turning back to Him even when you feel tired. Patience is not silence without pain. It is endurance with faith. It is continuing to pray even when your heart feels heavy, continuing to hope even when answers seem delayed. Every moment of patience is an act of worship, and every tear shed for Allah's sake is recorded and valued. Nothing in your struggle is ignored. There are times when you feel isolated in your test, as if no one understands what you are going through. This loneliness can be one of the hardest parts of a trial. Yet it is often in that solitude that Allah draws closest to His servant. When people fail you, when doors close, and when distractions are removed, your heart is given the chance to rely fully on Allah alone. What feels li. Isolation is sometimes divine focus. Allah removing the noise so that you can hear His guidance more clearly. Tests also reveal truths that comfort never exposes. They show you who genuinely cares, what truly matters, and where your heart really finds peace. Many people discover their strength only after they thought they had none left. They realize that Allah placed resilience within them long before they ever needed it. Each hardship you survive becomes evidence of Allah's support, even if it did not feel like support at the time. It is important to remember that no test comes without a limit. Allah knows exactly how much you can bear. Even when you feel you are at the edge, the intensity of the trial is not random, it is measured with divine precision. And just as the test was written, so is its end. Relief may not come when you expect it, but it always comes when it is needed most. Allah's help often arrives quietly, gently reshaping your life in ways you only understand later. When you look back one day, you may realize that the hardship you feared was actually the turning point that brought you closer to Allah, strengthened your faith, and changed you for the better. The test did not break you, it built you. And in that realization, you will understand that Allah never abandoned you. He was guiding you all along, through every moment of struggle, with wisdom, mercy, and purpose. There are moments in life when something you desperately wanted is taken away, and the pain of that loss feels unbearable. You question why Allah allowed it to happen, especially when your intentions were sincere and your dua was genuine. But Allah's wisdom is far greater than what the heart can immediately comprehend. When Allah protects you from something, He is not depriving you, He is safeguarding you. What feels like loss may actually be rescue. What feels like disappointment may actually be divine intervention, steering you away from a path that would have caused you harm in ways you could not foresee. Human beings often judge outcomes by what brings immediate comfort or happiness, but Allah sees the full picture. He sees how a certain opportunity might have slowly distanced your heart from Him. He sees how a particular relationship could have drained your soul or weakened your faith. He sees how a door you were pushing to open might have led to regret, pain, or spiritual loss. Out of His mercy, He sometimes closes doors firmly, not because He dislikes you, but because He loves you too much to let you walk into harm. Protection does not always feel gentle, but it is always purposeful. It is natural to grieve what you lost. Islam does not ask you to suppress your emotions or pretend the pain is not real. Even the strongest believers felt sadness when something dear to them was taken away. But grief should not turn into despair. When you trust that Allah's choices are better than your own, your pain slowly transforms into acceptance. You begin to understand that Allah's no was not a rejection of you, but a redirection for you. Sometimes Allah removes something from your life to make space for something better, something purer, something more aligned with your growth. Had the old remained, the new would never have entered. Many people cling to what is familiar, even when it is harmful, simply because letting go is painful. Allah, in His wisdom, sometimes removes it for you because He knows you would struggle to walk away on your own. What you see as loss may actually be Allah freeing you. There are also times when the better Allah has planned does not immediately appear. This is where trust is tested. You are asked to believe in Allah's promise before you see the reward. You are asked to rely on His wisdom even when the future feels uncertain. This waiting period can be uncomfortable, but it is not empty. It is a time of healing, growth, and preparation. Allah is shaping your heart, strengthening your reliance, and teaching you lessons that will make the next blessing more meaningful and more lasting. Looking back, many people realize that the things they once cried over were the very things that saved them. The job they didn't get protected them from burnout or dishonesty. The relationship that ended saved their faith and self-worth. The plan that fell apart redirected them toward a life they never imagined but eventually cherished. Allah's protection often becomes clear with time, even if it was invisible in the moment. When Allah protects you from something, He is also protecting your akhirah, not just your dunya. He cares about your eternal success more than your temporary comfort. So when something is taken away, remind your heart that Allah knows what you do not. Hold on to patience, continue making dua, and trust that whatever He is guiding you toward will be better for your soul, your faith, and your future. There are moments when you raise your hands in dua with complete sincerity, pouring out your heart to Allah, and yet the answer does not seem to come. Days turn into weeks, weeks into years, and the silence feels heavy. You begin to wonder if your words were unheard or if your requests were unworthy. But Allah hears every whisper, every unspoken plea, and every tear that falls from your eyes. Not a single dua is lost. What feels like silence is not neglect, it is divine wisdom unfolding in a way you cannot yet see. Allah answers dua in ways that are always perfect, even when they do not match your expectations. Sometimes He gives you exactly what you ask for, at the moment you ask for it. Sometimes He delays it, not to frustrate you, but to give it to you at a time when it will benefit you most. And sometimes He replaces it with something far greater, something that protects you, strengthens you, or brings you closer to Him. The heart often desires what it thinks is best, but Allah knows what truly is best. His knowledge is complete while ours is limited. Delays in dua can be one of the most powerful tests of faith. They reveal whether you worship Allah for results or for His sake alone. When you continue to make dua despite not seeing immediate change, you are affirming your belief that Allah is listening, that He cares, and that His timing is superior to yours. Every time you raise your hands, even when you feel tired, your iman grows stronger. The act of making dua itself becomes a form of worship, a sign of humility and trust. There are times when Allah delays your dua because He wants to hear your voice more. He wants you to keep returning to Him, to keep asking, to keep strengthening your connection. In those repeated moments of supplication, something within you changes. Your heart softens, your reliance deepens, and your priorities shift. You may start the journey asking for one thing, but along the way you gain patience, clarity, and closeness to Allah, gifts far more valuable than what you initially sought. Sometimes Allah answers your dua by removing harm you never knew was coming. You ask for one thing, but Allah gives you protection instead. He diverts a calamity, eases a hardship, or shields your heart from pain. Because you cannot see what was prevented, you may think your dua was unanswered. But in reality, Allah responded in a way that preserved you. On the day of judgment, when the full picture is revealed, you may wish that none of your du'as had been answered in the way you expected, because the reward of what was saved for you will be far greater. It is important not to give up on dua, even when hope feels fragile. Giving up would mean assuming that Allah's mercy has limits, and it does not. Allah loves persistence, sincerity, and patience. He loves the servant who continues to knock on his door, trusting that it will open at the right time. Every dua you make is an act of faith, a declaration that you believe Allah is capable, near, and responsive. One day you will look back and realize that every delay had purpose, every redirection had mercy, and every unanswered request was actually answered in a better way. Until then, keep making dua, keep trusting, and keep believing that Allah is preparing something that will make your heart grateful beyond words. Many people spend their lives chasing a version of success that looks impressive to others but leaves their own hearts empty. They measure winning by wealth, status, achievements, and recognition, forgetting that these things are temporary and fragile. Today they are present. Tomorrow they may disappear. Allah never promised that worldly success would be a sign of His pleasure, nor did He promise that a comfortable life would be given to everyone He loves. What He promised is something far greater, that true success belongs to those who earn His pleasure, even if their journey is filled with struggles. The heart that is connected to Allah carries a peace that no amount of money can buy. When Allah is pleased with a servant, He places contentment within their heart. This contentment allows a person to face hardship without despair and blessings without arrogance. You may not have everything you want, but you feel secure knowing that Allah is with you. That sense of closeness is the greatest achievement a believer can attain, because it remains with you in every situation and follows you into the hereafter. Worldly success can sometimes be a test disguised as a reward. It can distract, inflate the ego, or slowly pull the heart away from remembrance. Allah, in His mercy, may withhold certain worldly gains to protect a servant's faith. What looks like deprivation to others may actually be divine care. Allah is more concerned about your akhirah than your dunya. He knows that a heart anchored in Him is far more valuable than a life filled with temporary comforts. True victory is seen in moments of obedience that no one else witnesses. It is in resisting temptation when it is within reach. It is in choosing honesty when lying would be easier. It is in remaining patient when anger feels justified. These quiet victories shape the soul and draw a person closer to Allah. They may not bring applause, but they bring something far better, the pleasure of the one who created you. When Allah is pleased with you, He opens doors in ways you could never plan. He places acceptance in the hearts of people. He grants barakah in what you have, making little feel like much. Even difficulties become manageable because you know they carry purpose. The believer who has Allah's pleasure understands that success is not the absence of hardship, but the presence of faith within hardship. On the day of judgment, the measures of success will be completely different from what the world celebrates today. Titles, wealth, and status will mean nothing if the heart was distant from Allah. But a life lived with sincerity, patience, and trust, even if it appeared simple or difficult, will shine with honor. The true winners will be those whose hearts were aligned with Allah's commands and whose lives reflected humility and reliance. When you shift your definition of success to seeking Allah's pleasure, your priorities change. You stop chasing what exhausts your soul and start pursuing what nourishes it. You learn to be grateful for what you have and patient with what you lack. And in that balance, you realize that you have already won. Not because everything went your way, but because your heart belongs to Allah. And that is the greatest victory of all. In the end, remember this: your life is not unfolding randomly, and your struggles are not signs of defeat. Every delay, every closed door, every unanswered question is part of a divine plan crafted with wisdom and mercy. When you trust that what is meant for you will reach you, when you release control back to Allah, when you remain patient through tests, grateful through protection, and persistent in dua, your heart begins to understand a powerful truth. You were never losing. You were being guided. The world may measure success by speed, wealth, or recognition, but Allah measures it by faith, sincerity, and reliance. If your heart still turns to Him in hardship, if you still make dua when tired, if you still choose obedience when it is difficult, then you are already among the successful. Peace does not come from having everything. It comes from knowing who holds everything. So stop worrying about what you missed, what you lost, or what has not yet come. Place your trust in Allah, walk forward with patience, and keep your heart connected to Him. One day you will look back and realize that every step, easy or painful, was leading you exactly where you needed to be. And in that moment of clarity, you will know with certainty you didn't just survive, you won.